So tell me a little bit about the PPDEX. I want to get more into the weeds of like what that's going to look like, how users who are like new want to participate. Other than owning a Panda, what's like, how do I get involved?
Yeah. So once you own a Panda, you're going to log into the back end of the system. Everybody accrues points based on rarity, and we have like 110 different tiers, 120 different tiers. So one of one's at the top all the way down to the lowest ranking Panda. And I didn't want to do any kind of staking mechanisms. I think all that stuff's silly, just to lock up supply in hopes that price goes up. My thing was, and I want other people, I want Web 2 normies to be able to come in and use this stuff with ease, right? So I said, okay, we'll just have a centralized point system. The staking is already included. They don't have to do anything. They just accrue on a daily rate. Now you can go into the Panda Builder itself, the marketplace, and you can apply those points for different items. You can then apply those items to the Panda. In the Panda Builder, you can see how it looks on your Panda. As soon as you hit the button, it updates the metadata. So when you go to OpenSea or wherever, your Panda is now customized. And depending on what you did to your Panda, it'll also show you how many tiers you're going to move up. So and how many more points you'll be accruing on a daily basis. So it brings in quite a lot of game theory as well. Like, do people want to hoard points and use those for events and other certain things? Or do people want to take points from one Panda, transfer it over to another, and buy a really high item that boosts them up 10 tiers? So there's going to be a lot of game theories, which I'm excited to see, like who's going to game it, who's not going to game it, like what the theory is going to be there. Yeah, and then also you can go in and use those same points in the casino. You can run it into a slot machine and 10x your money or whatever, and then come back and buy more items. And what you'll start to see out of this is, like, you'll start to see collabs with us and other companies, and we'll say, okay, well, now we're going to drop this item, and you'll be able to buy a physical good and receive a digital good that only your Panda has, right? And so now it's attached to the inventory of your Panda. Now, if somebody wants that item, they have to buy your Panda, right? So there's a lot of game theory that comes along down the road that we'll be seeing kind of over the next, 6 months.
That's awesome. It's incredible. Trip, what are your thoughts on the whole, in general, thesis of Pandas and how that kind of evolved to today where we're talking to Bags about it?
Well, I mean, when I started to hear this stuff, you just kind of look at younger generations and see how they value their time and digital assets. And so skins, this being a gamer, like all the things that you can acquire, like whether it's in shooting games or even Robux, like all these things. And you can see how brands were dropping like special collaborations. Like I think Vans did something with Robux at one point. When I learned about that from my nephew, I was like, okay, this is actually a real new way to advertise to a younger demographic who spends a lot of time on these things. And they run up their parents' credit card by buying those assets, right? So I think when Bags talked about like, additional revenue, Panda points, you're going to be able to kind of like buy them essentially for with fiat money for Panda points bundles, which just kind of it's very much a parallel of like what we're seeing elsewhere in those types of like mini games. But then you also have kind of this adult component of it too, with like the whole casino and whatnot, and playing into that market. So there's two very specific kind of markets that I think they're addressing that are popular in this day and age. So like to me, this is like an interesting approach because one, it's bringing customization to NFTs, which I don't think any project has really done. Because
for sure,
it not only does that, gives like the user more connection or the want to upgrade. It brings brands into the equation. But then like you're leveling up the Panda, because then you may be able to sell that at a higher price later on, like down the road. So game theory, but also just like a ton of similar instances of like what you see in younger generations and how they value the digital asset space. Like they'll pay for a hat on something, right?
Yeah,
and you can see Nike doing that with, you get the NFT and a shoe with it, right? That whole concept of bringing digital assets to real life, because people I think have always wanted to be like, I see the red hoodie Panda, I'm like, dude, that hoodie's cool. or some people want the tracksuit. I probably wouldn't wear that, but they've already kind of started to show this in the apparel line, I feel like, and just like some foreshadowing of how all of this is evolving. So going back to how a business plan works and how teams execute on it, like you can just see the steps unfolding and it's happening, right? So the launch of the PPDEX is going to be a pretty big thing, and I think it's uniquely positioned to take advantage of all those things I just kind of went over.
So the whole reason I got into NFTs in the very beginning is because my son was swiping my credit card 3 times a day for Roblox, right? He's buying Robux, he's buying skins. Same thing with Minecraft. And I'm like, all right, now I get it. Now I understand like why, people are into NFTs. And if you look at what we're doing, it's not much different than the Roblox model with the skins and you got to think about it. Like, I don't want to drop a name because then everybody will run wild and say we've got some kind of collaboration going. But say we do a limited run with X company. We drop like 500 skins, right? They get the physical good with it. They get the skin. And now it's attached inventory item to that panda, right? So now it's very similar to like, to Roblox or whatever, where you want to get the skin, but there's only 500 of them and you have to own the panda. You have to buy that panda from somebody else if you want that inventory item. So, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We've already got this amazing Web 2 like party vibe atmosphere where we've got the box, seats at the football stadium and UFC events and concerts and parties. Like, we've already got all that. Like, I'm fine with that. But what we're doing is we're just building a complementary system using stuff that people already want. Like, I understand that Web3 is all about, reinventing the wheel and doing fresh stuff, but like, I don't see why it needs to be. To have a successful project, you can implement a lot of things that other brands and companies have already done and just make it a complementary aspect to what you're doing.